The UNCF Forum on Digital Media Literacy and Networked Learning Environments at Huston-Tillotson University included a presentation by Huston-Tillotson's own professor of English and Communications, Mike Hart.
I start off with a funny word, Google. Google's a funny word. It's okay to laugh at the word Google. Google to us, the majority of us, has become an anecdote, an idiom functioning as a verb that doesn't really mean much. Oh, you got those shoes online? How'd you get them? Oh, I Googled it. You found this restaurant over on the east side? How'd you find it? I Googled it. Because Google has such a robust data store, somewhere in the neighborhood of 850 terabytes for those technophiles of you out there. And because of the shallow learning curve that a program like Google Maps offers. I mean, there's no real learning curve. Within a matter of minutes, you can essentially be an expert at using Google Maps. I started to think of Google Maps as an immediately applicable social media tool for students at almost any level.
I think that, honestly, in the English department, we have something of a unique opportunity. Because insofar as the technology that we're talking about in this panel depends on rhetoric, depends on an effective use of language, not to detract from other disciplines, but there's nobody better suited than an English department, I think, to address that.
This is actually a map that Sean McCarthy over at UT, that one of his students came up with. And in this map, the student documents a research project that I believe was almost a semester long, and that tracks the idea of guilt-free chocolate. And so she started doing research into how chocolate is produced worldwide, by whom, for whom, what the prices demonstrate, culturally, socially, what that means for different parts of the world. And so what this student ended up putting together through an interactive dynamic social media application is a story that showed a great deal of cultural literacy, social literacy, that took a larger contextual view of a real world problem and presented that information rhetorically, usefully, but in something that sort of transcends the traditional English paper, which I can already see all of my students out in the audience cringing about, not interested in writing this traditional paper. And so I think that as educators, we need to keep in mind that we have access to a variety of social media tools, many of which our students already are familiar with. Many of them, in fact, I would call experts with. And that I think employing those social media tools in a way that develops rhetorical literacy, cultural literacy, social and racial literacy, I think becomes one of the most important ways that we can continually engage those students.
I think that there is a mindset that suggests that an English department is, Shakespeare and grammar. And I think that what a lot of educational institutions are increasingly finding out is that English departments become a very important site in terms of engaging the language of technology, the language of new and emerging media. And that happens to be something that I'm very interested in, but I think that it's something that most of the English department here is very interested in.
There was an opportunity to hear from several other Huston-Tillotson faculty members as they conducted a showcase of their work with digital media at the historically Black college.
But our students are in a media-enriched environment all the time, and they are visual, they're a part of the visual and oral cultural, more than they are of a textual culture. And so this is, basic constructivist pedagogy. You grab them where they are and bring them to where you want them to be. And so I know that they may not have paid attention to the transitions in a film before, but they're very savvy film watchers. And so if I can show them, look at what this filmmaker is doing to create this, then they can use that information in order to put it into their writing, which is what I'm trying to get them to do.
I teach communications here at Huston-Tillotson University, and my digital project is looking at taking a past history, which is usually the slave narrative history from the 1930s and the 1800s, and converting them in a format that can be used by students of today who are digitally oriented, because you can put it online, you can transmit it over a network to students, and also I'm also doing a Google Map project that gives the stories of these slaves who were in these narratives and where they lived in the community, and so it allows them to access history that is not in their history books but can be available to them in a digital format.
I think that a lot of the traditional pedagogical models are in the process of shifting significantly as teachers learn that to engage our students, we do have to have that knowledge.